If you own a local service business and you're struggling to generate leads and actually scale your business, you're going to want to watch this. In this video, we're going to break down the exact strategy I use for my clients to generate an additional 10 to 100 jobs a month. And this will work pretty much for any trade or local service that you provide. Just before I get into it, you can download my free guides. I'll be breaking down my strategies in greater detail where you can implement a lot of this stuff for yourself. So why should you even watch this video? My name is Colin Greenwood, and I'm the founder of Local Growth Group, and we help tradies and local service businesses scale with Google Ads. And with our strategy, we've added 10 to 30 jobs, adding 10 to 50K in the first 30 days of working with us. So if that's something that interests you, you can feel free to book a call below. Now, you may be wondering if this will work for you. We've worked with our fair share of various service businesses, and at a lot of our campaigns, we aim for 10 to 20x return on ad spend, depending on that industry. So you can see some of our client results. You got 1,000 in ad spend, collecting 30K in revenue, 2.2K ad spend, turning it to 25K in revenue, 2K turned into 55K in revenue. So you can just pause that to have a look if you like. Now, in this video, the things that we are going to cover are the main problems you are facing and why they need to be solved, the funnel I use to generate leads and book jobs, and then just breaking down the funnel and why each part is important and some best practices. Obviously, I could make a video on each part of these in greater detail, but you should get a pretty good idea of why you need to set it up and how to set it up, basically. Now, the top 3 problems for 99% of tradies and service businesses. Number 1, you're simply not getting enough consistent leads. And this is the biggest and most common problem I see people face when trying to grow, is that they just don't generate enough leads, or their lead flow is inconsistent. Now, without a system that you can rely on to consistently generate new leads for your business, you'll never be able to grow. And inconsistent leads means unpredictable cash flow. So you'll be left vulnerable during those slow periods of the year, which ultimately leads to a generally unstable business. Problem 2, you're dependent on referrals for work. So a lot of tradies build their brand around them as an individual, which is fine. But this is the problem. This often works for many, but it takes a lot of time to grow. I've seen plenty of businesses, I'm sure you've seen as well, push past that $1 million year mark with referrals alone, but it often takes 10, 20, even 30 years to get to that stage. And I'm sure you're watching this because you're not interested in waiting that long. By relying on referrals, you're literally depending on other people to grow your business. So if you want to grow predictably and right now, this obviously is not the best option. Number 3, the leads you are getting are tire kickers, and it's often a race to the bottom. So a lot of tradies or business owners buy leads from websites like Angie's List or Higher Pages, depending on where you live, and they're often sold to 5 other businesses. So it's often a race to the bottom with price. The leads end up costing too much, and they often don't convert. Or sometimes there's just simply not enough to go around to actually scale your business. And this is why you need to take matters into your own hands, and you should be getting people to contact you directly to build up your brand, right? And once you fill up your pipeline, you can actually tell time wasters or difficult low ballers to piss off, basically. Basic supply and demand, the more you have, the less needy you become. So once your lead gen is consistent, you'll have consistent income, you'll be able to tell the tire kickers to piss off, and you better take on more staff and actually grow the business, which is what you want. As a bonus, if you're able to do this, you'll be able to sell the business since you have a system that is not built around you as an individual generating leads. And your business will become it'll be worth more as you scale, right? Now, what you need to keep in mind when it comes to generating leads, whatever the service you provide in whatever area you live, regardless of how cheap or expensive you are, at any given time, a good 90% of your target market will not hire you. There has to be a reason to hire you, which is when they need your service. So you don't just call a roofer, plumber, electrician because you feel like it. For the average household, these services are expensive. They're not going to just call you unless they actually need to. So at any given time, roughly 3% of the market will be actively in need of and searching for your service. Roughly another 7% needs or wants your service, but they're not really going out of their way to get it. And if it wasn't obvious, it's easier to sell to the top 3% of what we call the buyer's pyramid. So the people going out of their way to buy your stuff right now. Now, there's plenty of demand for your service. You may just be looking in the wrong place. So how do we actually target the top 3% of the market? Well, we need people who need your service and are actively going out of their way to get that service, right? So this is why we use Google, which is a search engine, which is a platform people use to search anything from information, videos, products, or a business that provides a service, right? So I just created this little diagram, basically showing how someone hires a tradie or a local service 80% of the time. They have a problem, like their toilet's not flushing, so they'll decide they need to call a plumber. So your average Joe hops onto the computer or their phone, and then they search for the plumber near me or plumber in their city, and then they find someone and hire them. Now, understanding the Google search results. So when someone searches for a service, there'll be 3 types of results that will appear on the search engine results page. So you have the sponsored, so you have the Google Ads links that pop up first. Then you have the map packs, so the business profiles, and then you have the organic results, which are just the normal websites at the bottom. Now, appearing for any one of these will grant your business exposure and consequently generate you leads. Now, just so you know, if you don't already, Google search demand for your services. Every day there are people searching for the services you offer in your local area. So think about people searching for service plus location or service near me. So for example, plumbers Seattle, gutter cleaning Sydney, roof repairs near me. Depending on your service and location, this often equates to thousands of monthly searches. You don't need a massive piece of that pie to add 6 to 7 figures of annual revenue. Now, the local growth ads funnel, so this is our funnel. I just call it that because it's named after our brand, but it's just a Google Ads funnel. Now, this is a complete lead gen solution and strategy in the form of a diagram to scale your business. So you start off with the Google Ads, you capture users searching for your service, send them to your landing page, they view your business, and if they're, they're interested, they'll inquire for a job. So usually that's a form submission or a phone call. Some businesses operate with a booking system, but this is pretty common to just use form submissions and phone calls. And what a lot of businesses are doing is SMS and email notifications. You want to notify yourself and also send a confirmation message to your leads. This way, you'll be able to call them within 5 to 10 minutes to maximize the rate that you book them in. Then you give them a ring, book them in as per usual, close the leads, and then you'll fulfill your service. And a good business owner will always get a review of their customers as well. Now, why is each part important? So I like to consider the funnel like a car. Without all parts working together, you'll not be able to drive the car properly. So let's say you have a really powerful engine, but the transmission is poorly made. That will bottleneck the car's performance, right? And similarly, if you're missing wheels, no matter how powerful your engine was, you'll not make it a meter, even if you tried driving, right? So this is to say each part of the funnel is a factor of success, and tweaking or improving each part will change the profitability of your funnel. And a fully optimized funnel is extremely powerful in scaling your business. Most business owners who try Google Ads, they don't even build the entire funnel, or some parts of the funnel are just not done properly, which results in a broken, unprofitable funnel, leaving them to think that Google Ads doesn't work. But in reality, they just don't know what they're doing, really. So just as an example, let's say we have a poorly designed funnel. You have a high cost per click, low click-through rate, poor keyword targeting, etc., which leads to higher costs. You have a badly designed landing page, you get a low conversion rate, and your lead response time is slow, so you end up not booking many of those leads, which ultimately leads to a lower volume of leads and a higher cost per lead and job booking. So as an example, let's say you're spending $100 a day, Monday to Friday. You're paying $10 per click, so you get 10 clicks per day. And let's say they convert at 5%, right? You get 0.5 leads per day, which is $200 a lead. And let's say you take 3 hours to respond and your booking rate's 20%. You're now getting 0.1 jobs booked per day at $1,000 per booked job, which is obviously in most industries not very good. Now, if you convert that to a well-designed funnel, let's say you have a lower cost per click, higher click-through rate, you have relevant keyword targeting, the landing page is good, you respond to leads fast, you're going to get a much higher volume of leads and a lower cost per lead. Sorry, that's written incorrectly, but you get the idea. So let's say you're spending the exact same budget, $100 a day, you have a $5 cost per click, you're getting 20 clicks per day, and your conversion rate's 25%. You're going to be getting 5 leads per day at $20 per lead. And if you're responding right away and you're getting a 50% booking rate, you're now getting 2.5 jobs booked per day at $40 per job compared to, we're getting 0.1 jobs per day at $1,000 per job. Now, obviously, these are made up numbers, but this can be very real in the real world. Like you can actually experience something similar to this if your funnel is not made correctly. But this is just to paint a picture. Now, so the actual funnel, the Google Ads. So Google Ads can pretty much be broken down to the account structure and campaign settings, keyword research and ad groups, the ad copywriting and extensions, conversion tracking, so phone and form submissions, and then scaling and managing your ad account. So let's cover why each part is important, what they do, and some basic best practices. So the actual ad account structure and the campaign settings. So for those who don't know, your account is built up of your campaigns, ad groups, ads, and then the keywords inside those ads. So the campaigns control the settings, things like bidding, budget, location, schedule. And I like to categorize them based on how much budget I want to spend on each service. So a lot of people separate this based on themes. They might separate it by different services, which is correct, but we want to have more control over that. So basically, I split them up based on budget. So how much budget do I want to spend on getting leads for specific services? That way you have a lot more control and you can actually spend more on getting the types of leads that you want, right? Then the ad groups, it controls targeted keywords, target cost per acquisition, and the manual CPC value, things like that. And we organize them based on keywords for the highest ad relevance. The ads, the actual ads shown on Google. So we write ad copy that gets clicks and aligns with the ad groups and landing page content. Then the keywords that we choose, they're the search terms that you want your ad to show for. We choose keywords with correct intent to convert leads, right? So the campaign settings in Google Ads, settings are the controls that tell Google how, when, and where to show your ads, plus how your budget is spent. So let's just break down the main settings. So the campaign type for local service businesses, we want to use search campaigns. This targets people searching for your service in your location, so they have the highest purchasing intent and relevance to your business. So this maximizes the chance of getting conversions. These other methods, they generally make more sense for other types of businesses, right? Now, networks, Google is going to ask you to present your ads on their other networks. So things like the search partners or their display network. So things like YouTube, blogs, that kind of stuff. For most local service business campaigns, you just want to start with Google search to target people searching for your service in your location. When you get more advanced, you can do retargeting campaigns on the other networks, but that is a bit more advanced and you won't really get the most out of it. So I just recommend sticking to the search network until you scale and you become more advanced. Location targeting, pretty simple. It tells Google which geographic areas your ads can appear, so you only get leads in your area. So obviously a Perth plumber doesn't want clicks from Sydney, so you would set your area to Perth. Now, as a tip, there's a setting with the presence. You want to set it to people in or regularly in your target area, not the other setting, which is presence or interest. This basically means you're going to get people that actually are regularly in your area, aka they live in that area. Whereas people that may be visiting temporarily or are looking to move there, that kind of stuff, they may be searching, but they're not really going to be relevant, and chances are they're not going to convert into a lead. Now, the bidding strategy. This controls how Google spends your budget. So you can have things like manual CPC, maximize conversions, with a target CPA, that kind of stuff. Depends on your goals. But what I like to recommend, new campaigns often perform best starting out with manual CPC, especially if you have a low budget or it's a competitive niche and you don't have enough data to start out with. You just want to set up manual CPC. Once you have enough conversions, then you can start switching to manual bidding, to automated bidding. There's something like maximize conversions. And from there, you should be able to improve your performance. Now, as for your budget, this sets the maximum value you are willing to spend per day on your campaign. So this way, you know how much you're spending on your ad campaign. As a general tip, keep budgets separate for different services to high performing campaigns. So that high performing campaigns get more spend and lower performers get less. So like I was saying before, you want to separate those campaigns based on the services and how much you want to spend on those services. And that way, if you have a campaign that's performing better than another campaign, you can spend more on that campaign and lower the spend on the low performing campaign, right? Now, to actually calculate the daily budget, you want to determine your monthly ad budget that you're willing to spend. So generally aim for a minimum of 5 clicks per day. Consider the average CPC of targeted keywords and consider how many days per week you run your ads. So let's say, for example, you figure out the days per month. So you have Monday to Friday, which equates to about 22 days. And your average click is about $10 per click. So you want to multiply that by 5. So you're getting 5 clicks a day, which results in an $1,100 monthly budget. Now, conversely, you can do it the other way around. Let's say you want to spend $3,000 that month, divide that by 22 days, and now you can see that your budget is $136 per day. Now, as for your ad schedule, this sets the days and times your ads are shown, basically. And this is important because you only want to run ads when you can respond right away to book in the most leads. So let's say you're only available 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. You should run ads only during that time. This is because, like I said before, you want to be able to respond to leads within 5 to 10 minutes of them contacting you. Otherwise, the chances of them not booking exponentially increases, either because they change their mind or they go to one of your competitors and they get booked in. Conversion tracking. So what it does, it tracks actions like form submissions, calls, bookings, whatever your goals are. And this is important so you can see your campaign performance to make informed decision. But it's even more important because it feeds Google data to optimize your campaign towards getting your desired results. So let's say you want form submissions, it's going to do its best to get clicks that are more likely to convert into leads at a desired cost. So this is really important in the long run if you actually want a high performing campaign. Keyword research and ad groups. So what are keywords? So they're the search terms people are searching for in Google. And it's important that you select the right keywords for your ad groups that align with the messaging of your ad copy and the landing page. And they're highly relevant to your service and location and have a high intent to buy or hire you, right? The keywords with the wrong intent will waste your ad spend on irrelevant clicks that don't convert. So it's really important that you get this right. As for keyword research, it's basically the process of finding those words, and you can use Google's free keyword planner tool. And basically, we find words based on search intent, like I said. So we want people that have the actual intent of turning into leads. There needs to be enough volume, so enough demand for the service, and then the top of bid range. So you want to check the cost per click, what people are bidding, and you want to go for words that make financial sense for your goals, right? So if you don't have a large budget, you may go for words that have a lower cost per click, or you may simply just choose to bid lower based on that cost per click range, top of bid range. Now, as for keywords, there's different match types that you can add to your ad groups. So let me just break them down. So you have exact match, which has the brackets around them. They only show for the exact same search or very close variations. Phrase match has the quotation marks. This shows for searches containing that phrase before or after. So you can get variations. And the broad match shows pretty much for any loosely related search. So it can be quite risky without strong negative keywords, or you just don't know what you're doing. So exact match is pretty much all you need for most businesses, especially if you have a smaller budget. Until you scale, then you can start adding broad matches. But yeah, exact match will pretty much get you really high intent words and keep your life easy, right? Negative keywords. So these are the words you can add to a list that exclude your ad from showing based on search phrases. So this reduces wasted ad spend on irrelevant, low intent search terms. And generally, you want to remove anything that is not your service plus location, because those are the most relevant searches. So this might be things like anything related to career. So people looking for jobs, opportunities, training, hiring, that kind of stuff. Information. So pretty much any question: how to, why, DIY, what. Those kind of words. Products, so you want related products for the tools or supplies you use. So let's say, you know, in Australia, you have Bunnings. They sell, the tools that a lot of tradies use, the roof tiles, ladders, hammers, drills, whatever you use, right? You want to get rid of those brands and those products. And same thing with your competitor brands. So, just check out the competitors in your local area. You can do this by Google searching your keywords. You can see what competitors pop up. You want to add those to your negative keywords list as well, so you don't waste clicks. Now, keywords you should choose. In lead generation for local service businesses, it's pretty simple generally. 9 times out of 10, it would just be the service plus location. So something like drain blockage plumber, Perth, and service near me. So it could be roof repairs near me, something like that. And just by adding an exact match of those two, it will automatically cover pretty much all the variations you need, which I recommend for new accounts and smaller budgets. And as you scale, like I said, you can add more variations and use broader match types. Maximizing ad relevance. This is a very simple way to improve the quality score of your ads and the performance. So if the chosen keyword and ad copy and the landing page content aligns, this will boost ad relevance greatly. So which as explained, boost performance. So below shows examples of what to do and what not to do for ad relevance. So let's say you have your ad group and your keyword is emergency roof repairs LA, and then your ad copy says emergency roof repairs LA, and your landing page copy also says emergency roof repairs LA. You're starting to get the idea here that the messaging aligns very closely, right? And this will give you an above average ad relevance. Whereas if you had like emergency roof repairs, 24/7 roof repairs, and then roof repairs, they're pretty relevant. It might make sense to you that these are quite relevant, but in Google's eyes, you'll get an average ad relevance probably, because whilst they're similar intent, they're not really, really similar intent. And the third example, hopefully none of you are doing this. It's pretty obvious not to do this, but see you're targeting roof repairs as your keyword, and then your ad copy says plumbers, and then your landing page says law firm. Obviously, they don't align at all. And you're going to get below average ad relevance, but you probably will have bigger problems than just worrying about the ad relevance, because you likely won't convert any leads at all if your content is like that, right? Now, the ad copy writing. So ad copy is the text or writing in your ads. So this comprises of your headlines, descriptions, ad assets. It's important to be done right, so you maximize the number of clicks you get and therefore the number of leads that you get as well. So this is just an example. You have your headlines, the URL, and the extensions, which is called the ad assets now. And yeah. Now the click-through rate, a key metric that determines how often your ad gets clicked. So it's calculated as the number of clicks divided by the number of impressions. So for example, if you're getting 5 clicks per 100 impressions, you get a 5% click-through rate. And it's important that you get a high click-through rate, generally speaking, so that you literally get more clicks, so that you get more leads. Now with a low click-through rate, the lower expected CTR, or the quality score. So the higher your cost per click becomes and the less impressions you'll be getting. So Just to note, it's not always about having a higher CTR if the traffic quality isn't good. So you want clicks that convert. So sometimes it makes sense to use language that filters out people that aren't your ideal lead. And if that's the case, maybe you operate, a higher performing campaign or a more profitable campaign if you have a lower CTR. So it's not always just higher CTR equals better, but keep that in mind. Now, how do you write actual good ad copy? So the goal of ad copy is to win clicks and convert leads. So you can do that by ensuring that your ad copy grabs attention, matches the searcher's intents, builds trust, and encourages action. So this is how I like to write headings. Generally, the limit is 30 characters, and generally I only use 3 to 5 headings to collect data fast, and so I can A/B test. By having more than that, it becomes, there's too many variations. You won't be able to collect data fast enough, and you won't be able to see what's working and what's not, basically. Now, heading 1, I like to pin it so it's always in that position. And I like to maximize search relevance and ad relevance. So this just means using the service and location, just like the keyword that you're targeting. And then heading 2, it will usually be a unique selling point. So you want to entice clicks and get people to choose your business. So things that differentiate your business, reduce risk, or increase value. Heading 3, you want to create authority or build your credibility. So basically, why you should be trusted. So things like social proof, experience, and policies, that kind of stuff. So as an example, as a drain plumber, you could do blocked drain plumber Perth as the H1. And then as the H2, you can do fixed first time fast. So obviously people, that's what they want from the service. They want it fixed fast and they want it done properly. So that's pretty good. And heading 3, 20 years of experience. So obviously this just means you're competent. If someone's done the job for 20 years, they must be pretty good, right? And how do I write the ad description? So you have a 90 character limit, and like the headings, I reduce the number of descriptions that I write. So I only use 2 descriptions because only 2 will be shown at one time. And once again, this is to collect data fast, and so I can A/B test them if I want. So description 1, focus on the service and location for relevance, so people know what they're looking for, the outcome and the benefits and value of doing your service. And the second description, I focus on those USPs, building that authority, and adding a call to action to tell the user what to do. So as an example, you have blocked drains cleared fast in Perth, so that's highly relevant, and people know what you're doing. Clean, affordable, expert plumbing, satisfaction guaranteed. So that increases the perceived value of your service. Same day service, it's pretty convenient, licensed and insured, so they feel safe working with you. You're able to be trusted. 5-star rated Perth plumbers. So, good ratings means you're good, basically. And call now for fast help. So that tells the user what to do to get to hire you, basically. Now, ad assets, previously called extensions. So they're useful for a few reasons. They take up more space on the actual search results page. So you'll actually be able to be seen more easily, and there'll be less space for your competitors. It gives them more ways to interact. So it gives people more options, which makes it more likely you'll be able to cater to them. And then you'll be able to highlight your USPs, your unique selling points. So you can show off what you offer without them having to click, which means they're more likely to be pre-sold before clicking. So they can all improve general performance and click-through rate. So it's pretty much a no-brainer that you should be running them. But what should you be running? Should be doing site links, so they're extra links to specific pages, so they provide more options, basically. Call assets shows a phone button to directly call from an ad, so this is really great, especially for emergency service where urgency is valued. Location shows where your business is, basically, so this helps with local search relevance and trust, so people know where you are. Callouts, these are basically 25-character short snippets, and you can use these to highlight key benefits and selling points. Structured snippets, so this lists services or products that you provide. Once again, takes up more space, helps cater towards the larger audience. Image assets takes up more space, builds trust, presents your business, and improves click-through rate. So they're the actual images on your ad. Me personally, they build a lot of trust when I'm looking at an ad. Brand name and logo. This one is a no-brainer. You should be doing this without me telling you, but without it, you're going to lack trust and identity. So definitely have that set up. And then the price works specifically more for packaged services or products that have upfront pricing, but they can be good to filter out people based on budget. So let's say you do kitchen renovations starting at 20,000. If you add that to your ad, you're going to be filtering out people that have a budget of 10,000, well, in theory at least, anyway. And you can also attract customers with good deals. So conversely, if you have a really high value, low cost offer, then you can present that, and that will differentiate you from your competitors, making it more likely people will click on your ad and convert, right? Now, checking competitors. Now, an easy way to not only get ideas, but to actually ensure that you have competitive ad copy is to just sneak a peek at your competitors. Simply Google your service and location keywords, check and note down 5 to 10 competitors' ad copy, whatever you're willing to do. See what they're doing, see what they're not doing, and then do it better. Find an angle that they're missing and basically one-up them. So now for the landing page. Landing pages are really important. If you didn't know, I'd say they're perhaps 50% of the funnel. Having a good versus bad landing page will largely affect the results. And this is where a lot of advertisers fall short because they aren't able to create an effective one. Conversely, if your ad settings, keywords, and ad copy aren't good, no matter how good your landing page is, you won't convert leads. You could be converting 5% of clicks or even 30% of clicks, depending on how good the landing page is, resulting in a 6x difference while spending the same ad spend. So with spending the same amount of money, you could increase the revenue you're generating by 6 times just by having a better ad funnel. So it's really, really important. Now, you will need to set up a website. I use SiteGround for myself and clients, and you can use my link in the description to get 81% off your first year. It includes hosting, WordPress, and a free domain, so it's a really good deal, and I highly recommend them, and I use them myself, so be sure to check that out if that is something you're looking for. Now, landing page components, pretty much broken down the parts of the landing page, but we won't go into heaps of detail in this video because I could make individual videos covering all of these. But landing page versus a website. So a lot of people, make this mistake. It's pretty common. They use their website over a dedicated landing page. This is most likely because, people have invested in building a website and they don't want to mess around creating new pages, or they simply think it's already adequate. But here's why a landing page is better. Landing pages are a singular page that have high relevance to the user search. It's because it's specifically designed to target those keywords, for those targeted keywords. The goal is to convert users into leads. That's their only goal, right? So specialists are better than a jack of all trades. And thirdly, most importantly, there are no distractions on the page like a website has. So, a website typically has, other pages like the About, Contact, Services page. It's also external links to like social media pages, your Facebook, Instagram, etc. So say, for example, someone pays for a click, but they're led to your Instagram page, just to start doom scrolling on Instagram. That's pretty much a guaranteed waste of money. Then they're not going to come back to your website. You just paid for and lost that click, basically. So 9 times out of 10, a landing page will outperform a website. There's plenty of studies that back this, and also in my experience too. Now, the above the fold. So this is the most important part of the landing page. I tell people to spend 80% of their effort when designing this. For those who don't know, the above the fold is the first section of the page that loads in without scrolling down. So this is highly important because it's the very first thing you see. It creates the first impression. So the average attention span these days is about 7 seconds. Usually 1 to 3 seconds are spent loading in the page. So 60 to 70% of users don't even scroll past the above the fold. So essentially, how good the above the fold will determine whether a customer converts or not 80% of the time. You can just see this diagram. Yeah, it's basically the part that loads in first before you actually scroll down. So it's really, really important that you nail this. So as for the design, generally, these are the 5 things that I would focus on. So 1, you're addressing the target audience and the desired service for that relevance. You're going to focus on the benefits and outcomes of your service. Any selling points, review ratings, risk reversals, awards, that kind of stuff will boost confidence and conversions. And you want to have clear, low friction call to actions. So basically meaning it's very easy to contact you or work with you, basically with low effort and low risk. 5th, the images of your service, and just have a generally appealing aesthetic design. So this is pulled from one of our client landing pages. So this is just a week's worth of data, but they're converting at 26, 25, 33% for these keywords. So you can pretty much say it's converting at 25% pretty consistently. So that's just to say, this really does work. And this was the page. So, it's pretty, I'm not saying it's like the most flashy, amazing design, but it looks pretty professional and it does all those things I mentioned. So yeah, take that into consideration when designing your own page. Now, as for the actual page content, you can pause this and have a look at it, but every page will look different based on your industry. The page content should deliver all necessary information, increase the perceived value of your business and service, and lower the risk for the customer. Basically, your messaging needs to resonate with what they want and make them want to buy. So I'm not going to break these down in heaps of detail, but 1, you want to address the process of working with you and the outcomes. You want to have third-party reviews, testimonials, that kind of stuff for credibility. Address what you do and why they should choose you. Images of results. So in a lot of industries, before and afters work great. Who your service is for. Say your services are commercial or residential, you should pretty much include that. So your target audience knows if your service is right for them. And you can include other services that you provide that are relevant on the page. Optionally, you can add more benefits and reasons to hire you. Frequently asked questions. You want to address customer concerns so that you overcome any objections that they have, so they choose you. And then I like to finish it off with a clear call to action section, clear instructions on how to contact you and make sure you reduce friction there. And your footer should include your logo, contact details, and extra credibility points that you probably would have had at the above the fold section. Now, technical points you want to follow. Page speed and device compatibility. In most cases, you'll find 2/3 of your audience is on mobile, meaning if your page isn't compatible for mobile, you're literally losing 1/3 of your audience, which is a massive chunk, right? And like I said, the average attention span being 7 seconds, your page must load in less than 3 seconds. Otherwise, people will bounce and you'll have wasted paying for a click before someone even gets to see your page, right? So being mobile compatible and having a fast page speed equals a good user experience. So that's very important. Now, moving on to SMS and email automations. Like I said, this is very important. One part of the funnel that most business owners don't do is focus on the lead to booking rate. So we need to maximize the chances of your lead turning into an actual job. The fact that someone inquired for a job is a good sign. However, it doesn't mean that they're your customer yet, right? So they can still look elsewhere at your competitors. They could change their mind. So we need to mitigate this by one, sending a confirmation message to them after they make an inquiry so that they know that you got your inquiry. And two, you want to be notifying ourselves or our team to respond within minutes. This way, you can actually know when a lead comes in and you can pick up the phone right away and book them in. Now, your Google business profile and reviews. Reviews make all the difference. And if it wasn't obvious enough, reviews convert customers in any industry. So just if you think about it, would you be more likely to eat at a restaurant if your friend told you they serve the best food they've ever eaten? Or, would you be more likely to hire someone rated 4.8 stars with 1,500 reviews over someone rated 4.2 stars with 40 reviews? You need to generate reviews for your business and show them credibility. Show them for credibility on your ads and landing pages, as I mentioned before. You have this guy over here or this guy. We obviously want to be business A, right? Best practices. So one, you want to set up a Google business profile. You can find a video on how to do that. It's a no-brainer and it's because it's free and it will get you free leads. Just if you do it, just make sure you do it very thoroughly and take the time to do it properly. Secondly, you want to collect reviews of every single customer. I'll have a video on my channel, basically outlining how to do this. And thirdly, you want to showcase your reviews on your ads and landing page to increase the conversion. So you want to make the most of actually having those reviews, right? Now, putting it all together, you want to set it up and improve it as you go along. Like most things in life, you will not have a perfect setup this first time you try it. And just have a go, get it done and watch the leads come in. I highly recommend you focus on getting every part right as soon as possible before starting. But ultimately, time is money. So the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you in that sense. So get it going and improve upon it as you go. Now, you may think it's a lot of effort, but it's absolutely worth doing. You'll likely add 5 to 6 figures of monthly revenue to your business consistently, allowing you to scale, hire better staff, and build the company of your dreams. Now, you can start with as little as $500 to $2,000 a month of ad spend, and you'll be able to just reinvest that to scale your budget to 5 to 6 figures eventually. Now, thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this video useful and you're able to implement this into your business soon. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, that kind of stuff. Check out my channel and my other social pages and my other free guides. So like I was saying before, if you want this in more detail, I have a free guide detailing all of this, how to actually implement it into your business. The link is in the description. Feel free to read that. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for watching and hopefully see you in the next one. Cheers.